Before we get into the episode, I am thrilled to announce that the EntreMD Business School is open for enrollment. The EntreMD Business School is the only school of its kind for physicians who want to build 6, 7, and multiple 7-figure businesses. Over the last 2 years, we have had hundreds of doctors go through the school with unbelievable results. Some of them run brands, some of them run private practices, some of them are coaches, some have other kinds of service-based businesses or product-based businesses. And we've had people come in and cross the 6-figure milestone, cross the 7-figure milestone, cross the multiple 7-figure milestone. You will be in a place where you'll get the coaching, the community, the accountability that you need to thrive as an entrepreneur, especially in the times that we're in. So maybe you've been following me for a while. Maybe you've been getting so much out of the EntreMD podcast and you've been wondering, how can I work with Dr. Una and the community more? Well, this is your chance. Come join us in the EntreMD Business School. It is application only. So go to entremd.com/business to turn in your application. I cannot tell you how many doctors have made statements like this. I recovered my investment in the first week. I recovered my investment in my bank account in the first 90 days. This is the best investment I've made in myself ever. I want you to have that kind of story, not just a story of building a great business that serves a lot and earns a lot, but having a business that gives you the freedom to live life on your terms. So don't wait any longer. entremd.com/business. And now for the episode. Hi, docs. Welcome to the EntreMD Podcast, where it's all about helping amazing physicians just like you embrace entrepreneurship so you can have the freedom to live life and practice medicine on your terms. I'm your host, Dr. Una. Well, hello. Welcome back to another episode of the EntreMD Podcast. As always, super pumped to be in your ears. Thank you so much for being a listener, for sharing, for reviewing. And I am excited about what we get to talk about today. And that is really along the lines of how to create massive wins in your business and doing this in less time. Now, there are some people who are the school of thought that entrepreneurship is about hustle, and then eventually someday you'll enjoy your life. And I'm from a completely different school of thought because as a physician, you know that in high school, maybe if at that time you already knew, you're working super hard to get really good grades so you can get into this really great pre-med program, so you could get into this really great med school and you can get into this really great residency program. And for a lot of us, maybe even you, we kind of, because of the time requirement, we did have to put dreams on hold, put aspects of life on hold so we can chase after this. And at the end of it, we can have these careers and stuff that we really love. And only to find out that, oh, wait a minute, I missed a whole skill set. I didn't get my business skills, right? And so a lot of us have embraced entrepreneurship. But the thing is, the last thing I want you to do is to put your whole life on hold again, right? Because the thing about entrepreneurship is it's beautiful, it's magical, there's no arrival, right? It's not like residency. It's, like where it's 3 years or 5 years or whatever. It's not like med school is 4 years. It's not like any of those things. It's really, I think of it as the best personal development program ever. I think it's one of the best ways for you to find yourself, find your purpose, if you will, your giftings and all of that. And I mean, you can do one business and grow it and it's really serving you. You may decide to make it bigger. You may decide to start multiple companies. I tell the doctors in the EntreMD Business School, I'm like, you may not believe me now, but mark my words, a few years from now, you'll see that many of you are going to go on to, some already do, but many of you are going to go on to own multiple businesses because it's just like giving yourself full expression, right? But so if that's the case, if we're never going to arrive, the last thing I want us to do is put our lives on hold, right? So that we can get there. In fact, one of the things we teach about a lot, and I've talked about this on the podcast, is this concept of building your dream business and building your dream life at the same time, building both of them concurrently because you can have both, right? And so So because of that, we have to talk about a lot of things around, managing your time and all of these things. But I'm going to talk about an aspect today, which is really around focus. Okay. It is really around focus. Focus is something that helps you accomplish a lot more in a lot less time than it will take somebody else. And it's possible to look at the business that I've built or the businesses that I've built. And it's really like, my goodness, you do a lot, you're everywhere and all of these kind of things. But the truth is I've leveraged some of these, some concepts where I'm able to do that and I'm still building my dream life. But one of those concepts is focus. Okay. And I think as physicians, maybe all entrepreneurs, but I talk to physician entrepreneurs. This gets in the way of a lot, not being super clear. Okay. And this is something that we can fix today, and it will change the way you approach entrepreneurship, and it will give you your time back. Is the most phenomenal thing. One of the statements that came up a lot when we did our review of Q1 of 2023 in the EntreMD Business School is a lot of people is like, I accomplished so much more and I did it by working less, right? A lot of people said that. And, and so they're, spending so much more time with family, spending so much more time traveling and things like that. And, I'm not trying to paint this picture of they don't work hard or anything like that. Business, you're going to work hard. Okay. You're going to work hard in business, but it is just, proof of concept. Like, this works. That's my reality. And the students in EntreMD Business School, that's their reality as well. And so I want to give you some pointers there. And so you can start applying this, today. And I want you to think about having this clear focus on what it is you want to accomplish. And when I have my clients write out, say their goals for the quarter, I'm like, I know you may have 25, but we're only going to write 3, right? Like, if I can only accomplish these 3 things in my business, what would they be? And of course, because I'm talking to physicians who love to help people and are fine not earning anything while they do it, I'm like, and one of those must be a revenue goal. Right? We have to put a revenue goal in there. But it is 3 goals. What is the reason for that? Because in a 90-day period, I mean, like, you really could focus on one thing, but in a 90-day period, you have 7 things that you're focusing on. You're a little scattered. But if you focus on 3 and you hit them, the funny thing is that you probably end up accomplishing the other 4. You know what I mean? And so it's just having this really clear focus. For some of you, if you're used to doing all the things and all of that, it may be almost painful to pick 3 things, right? But the question to ask is, if I could only do one thing, if I could only accomplish one thing in the next 90 days, what would that be? If I could only accomplish another, if I could only accomplish a third. So I learned this from Brian Tracy, right? And you have those 3 things, right? Like, so, and for the sake of this illustration here, we're going to use one, but you have those 3 things. Everything else becomes a distraction or something that you're going to have to schedule time to address. But these are the things that you focus on. The narrower your focus, the more you'll accomplish and the more you'll enjoy your life. I'm going to say that again. The narrower your focus, the more you'll accomplish and the more you'll enjoy your life. Okay. And so even if it feels uncomfortable doing it, that discomfort, the return on investment of the discomfort is huge, is so big. So you want to take full advantage of it. So focus. Okay. So focus on what it is I'm trying to accomplish. That's the first one. The second one is focus on what I need to do to accomplish it. Okay. And there are not many things. But the thing is, the reason sometimes we come up with a list of 40 things is because the things that we do need to do to pull it off, they're uncomfortable. So we add many, many, many things to the list. And then we can check off some, but the main things that will get us there, we don't do them, right? Okay. So I don't want this to be philosophical. I want to give you some examples. Okay. So say you're a coach, consultant, and you're like, you know what? I want to make $100,000. I want to make my first, let's even say that. I want to make my first $100,000, right? Because you start from there, then you go to multiple 6 figures, then you go to you're really close to $1 million, then you go to $1 million. I like just saying the million because, as physicians, I'm like, of course we can, right? But okay, so let's say our first $100,000 as a coach. What do you have to do what do you need to do to pull that off? It really is telling everybody what you do and inviting them to work with you. Like, there are variations of that, but that's pretty much it. It's about extroverting into the marketplace and telling people, this is what I do, right? And the second thing is telling people, this is how you can work with me. Come work with me. So just think about it that way. Okay, so extroverting yourself into the marketplace can look like, well, I show up in a networking event. So when I show up there, where my ideal clients are, of course, but when I show up there, I'm not, just showing up. I'm showing up and I'm saying, this is who I am. This is what I do. This is how people work with me, right? These are wins I've helped people create and stuff like that. You're doing that at networking events. You have opportunities to speak. And when I say you have opportunities, I mean, you created those opportunities. You asked for those opportunities, right? And you show up. And you're like, you talk about what you talk about, and you're like, hey, if you want to book a call with me, blah, 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 do that, right? You're showing up in front of people who don't know you. You're talking to your personal contacts. I find when people start businesses, they want to hide and talk to nobody that they know. They would rather stay behind a computer and keep posting on social media. And I'm like, well, there's some people who already know, like, and trust you. Some of them will work with you if they know what you do. Some of them will send people to you if they know what you do, but they don't know what you do, right? And so your personal contacts, reaching out to them and say, hey, this is what I do, this, and things like that, is going on other people's podcasts, is doing joint venture IG lives on other people's platforms. I'm talking about extroverting into the marketplace so that people who do not know you can find you, right? And so that is a core thing, but I cannot tell you how many times people run away from this. And so rather than do that, they will post on their own social media, which is great, but the other one comes first. They will start their own podcast, which is great, but being on other people's podcasts is more important because you're trying to get yourself in front of new people. They will host their own events, which is powerful, and you should, but you want to be on other people's stages. Like, that ranks above hosting your own event, right? And they want to go live every week on their platforms, and they should. Now, don't get me wrong. All these things are right and they should be done, but extroverting is done first because, for instance, if you're doing a Facebook Live on your own platform every week, well, who's coming to watch it if you're not talking to new people, right? And so it's almost like you go out there, tell people I'm here, they come and find you, so they're binging on your stuff, and then you tell them, come work with me, right? And so if you're not putting yourself out there and you're just cooking all these meals at home, nobody's eating it because nobody came. Right? And so imagine focusing. The thing about extroverting into a marketplace is, for the most part, is uncomfortable, right? Is uncomfortable. So that's the one that gets procrastinated on, but that's the one that will grow your audience the biggest and the fastest, right? And so you want to be all the way out there, okay? Now, of course, you want to do all the other things, but not at the expense of putting yourself out there. Putting yourself out there is like, that's the beginning of everything. If you're not out there, nobody knows you exist. If nobody knows you exist, nothing else matters. And so I see a lot of people avoiding that. And the second thing I see people avoiding is actually making the ask. Okay. This is one of the most uncomfortable things for entrepreneurs, is asking. But the more you ask, it is a muscle. The more you ask, the more comfortable you'll get at asking, the better you'll be at asking, the more you can up your volume of asking. And when you ask, magic happens. Okay. Come work with me. This is what life could look like if you worked with me. And, we have a lot of episodes on falling in love with your business, falling in love with your offer, selling confidently and things like that, because we all must remember that what we do, right, is not about manipulating people and taking their money. What we do is we serve people and they give us a thank you note called money. For instance, with what I do in the EntreMD Business School, okay, people, of course, would pay for it. I would have to tell them about it so they know and they come in. But I want you to think about what happens on the other side of it. Okay, so I have people who are like, I don't know, I want to start a private practice. I don't think I can pull it off. I don't even know where to start from. And now they have a private practice that's brought in millions of dollars. Like, millions that they built from the ground up. We have people who are like, they build practices and they're like, I was profitable from day one. We have people who are coaches who have crossed six figures, multiple six figures. One even said, I doubled my revenue in 1 year, right? We have people who were terrified of being on stage who are now paid speakers. We like all of them. And they come back and they're like, oh my goodness, this is the best money I've ever spent. Oh my goodness, I am hashtag EBS for life. Oh my goodness, I don't even recognize who I am. And that's what's happening, right? And so when I show up to say, hey, you're a physician entrepreneur, there is a place for you. There is a place where you can get a top-notch education, right? So you can acquire the skills that you need to be a successful physician entrepreneur. There's a place where you can get the accountability because nobody's motivated all the time. And there is a place where you can get a community. There's so many sob stories, so many woe is me, so many, like everything is falling apart all over the physician community. But there is this place where magic happens. There's this place we call the EBS Commonwealth, where you will have a community of physician entrepreneurs who are killing it, who are vulnerable enough to share their trials, vulnerable enough to share their wins. They share numbers, they share all kinds of things, and they're always there for you. You have a question, you post in the group, people are coming out from the woodworks, like creating opportunities, answering them for you. They create opportunities for each other. Like, oh, I got a speaking gig on this stage. It's a paid speaking gig, but I'm speaking somewhere else at that time. But I know you talk about this too. Is this opportunity something you're interested in? Like things like this happen all the time. And so I'm like, when I tell you, come join the business school, I don't feel like I'm manipulating you. I don't feel like I'm trying to take your money. I feel like I'm giving you the opportunity of a lifetime because that is what it is, right? And so if you're going to be that coach that crosses $100,000 mark, you're going to ask. You're going to ask daily. Like if in your business you are too busy to ask, you are too busy to be profitable. You are too busy to make the business work, right? So if you're too busy to ask, you're too busy. Like something else has to give. Like what else are you doing in your business if you're not asking, right? So extroverting yourself into the marketplace, asking, extroverting, asking. Now, of course, in the middle, you have this whole piece of, then your social media. So when they meet you on the outside, they can look at your social media. When they meet you outside, they can, outside, they can see your life and all of that. All of that is happening. But where I see the two areas that are areas of focus where I see most people run away from is extroverting into the marketplace and asking. And without these two, it's going to be a long, hard journey, right? And if you can get these two right, if you can come to terms, get out of the resistance of I don't want to do this, I don't have time for that, and all those kinds of stuff. If you get out of that and just make it a habit, what you'll find is you'll start getting those clients. And you'll start getting them in less time because all the other things that you do, you don't have to do them. Like these are the things you do, right? And it works. And it always works, right? Okay, so that's about focus. So you've identified the X, I want to bring 100,000. You've identified the things I need to do. So I need to extrovert to the marketplace. Like I still need to build all my stuff for nurture, right? And then I need to ask. I need to ask, right? Knowing that if I have these three things in place, I can focus on these three things and go hard on these three things. And if I only have an hour to work on my business, I'm only working on these three things. If I have 4 hours, then oh my goodness, I'm doing 4 times that. It's just that thing of what do I need to focus on? And then, so when shiny objects come, you're like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. Right? I'm not going to do that because this is not the time. Does this take me closer to my 100? Does it take me closer? No. Then leave it alone. Leave it alone. There's so many shiny objects. But a lot of times we're attracted to shiny objects when we don't have focus. Either we haven't clearly defined what we want, or we haven't clearly defined what is required and made a decision that we're going to do what is required, right? And so the shiny object really is an escape, right? Like, whew, man, now I don't have to extrovert into marketplace. I don't have to ask. Let me go do this thing. And sometimes they're good things. Sometimes they're really good things, but we're like, yeah, let's go do that, right? Okay, so let's say you're like, no, I don't want to make $100,000 as a coach. I'm in private practice and I want to work 3 days a week. Okay, all right. So I want to work 3 days a week. And so if that's what you want to do, I want to work 3 days a week and either keep my revenue the same or I want to increase my revenue as I work 3 days a week. Okay. Now, if that's your X, then the thing that you do have to do to pull it off is now you're thinking team, right? Now you're thinking team. This is one of the ways, there are many ways, but one of the ways I'm going to bring a team member in, right? That's the thing that I'm going to do. And because I've never done this, so let's say a solopreneur, I've never done this before. It also means I have all these processes in my head, like how we do things, right? Like in my practice, we say the Ivy way, like this is the Ivy way of doing things. Like it's all documented. It's all like scrambled up in your head. Like you can't even articulate what it is you do that makes your practice unique. So you're going to document that, right? So you're going to hire a team. So maybe another physician. You're going to document your processes. And if you are like me, when I built my practice was like my fourth child. Actually, it was like my third child. And then my other two children were 4 and 5, because you know what I mean? Like I was like my practice and I were one. And so if you're like that, then you're going to start progressively firing yourself, because it's a skill, like, and it will be uncomfortable, and you have to, but if you don't do it, you're never working 3 days a week. And so think about that, right? So think about me saying, okay, this is my goal. I want to work 3 days a week. And what I need to do is I need to hire another doctor. I need to document my processes so my business can work, similarly, even when I'm not there. And I need to progressively fire myself. Now, everything else becomes a distraction, right? That does not involved in this. This is what I need to focus on. And so the same way the coach is trying to get 100,000, asking for clients, like, come work with me. You're asking for team members, come work with me. You're recruiting, your physician, all of those kind of things. Like that becomes a top of mind thing, right? And so when you have all these 1,000 things to do, you're like, no, this is my mission. And because this is my mission, this is what I want to do, right? And so you're doing that, you're documenting your processes, like you're progressively firing yourself, you're making sure your marketing is on point because you're going to have another person scheduled to fill and all of those kind of things. But this is what I focus on. And then you go all in on it. So if you have an hour to work on your business, this is what you do. You have 5 hours to work on your business, this is what you do, right? And so, the question then becomes, what is your X? Like, what is your X? What is it that you want to accomplish in your business? And when you're done defining that, you do have to ask yourself, okay, if at the end of the year, this is what happened in my business, this thing I wrote down, am I happy with it? Because sometimes people will write things, there's no revenue goal, there's no team goal, there's none of that. It's just like, I want to show up consistently on social media. I'm like, so at the end of the year, if what your business did is it showed up so consistently on social media, is that what you want? And they're like, no, right? And things like that. So what do you want? Like define it, right? Define it. Then what do I need to accomplish that? Define it. Then look at it, gulp real big and decide to do it, right? Decide to do it. Like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. Okay. Now, one of the things, like when you're trying to take quantum leaps in your business, one of the things you also have to do is you also have to change your operating system. Your way of thinking has created the business you have now. The way you think now, the way you act now, the way you hire now, the way you train your team now, the way you lead your team now, the way your processes are now, all of that has created what you have now. It cannot deliver the next version to you. Like it just can't. That's not the way this works. So a quantum upgrade of your operating system is what creates a quantum leap in your business. Because sometimes I see people say, I want to build $1 million business. But they don't want to do anything uncomfortable. They don't want to learn anything new. They don't want to do anything new. And I'm like, forget it. It is never, not on this side of eternity. It is never happening, right? So if you want to have a quantum leap in your business, a quantum upgrade in your operating system is required, okay? And so if you say for instance, for me, okay, when we crossed $1 million in annual revenue in EntreMD, I was like, okay, the way I think and the way I do things has brought me here. And it cannot take me where I'm trying to go next, right? And so I'm like, okay, who is the person who can guide me to where I'm trying to go? This is somebody who has done it. This is somebody who has done it for other people, right? And that's where I need to be. And, I'm so grateful that I found the person and I was like, wonderful. And what did I do? I spent the next 6-9 months upgrading my operating system. And so we were able to cross the next milestone. So for you, the question becomes, what are you willing to do? If you upgrade your operating system a little, your business is going to change a little. If you upgrade your operating system like the quantum, the big version, then that's the same thing that's going to happen to your business. This is a cause and effect thing. So I say that to say, you've defined what it is you want to accomplish. You've stated what you think, okay, this is what will give me that result. If that result you're looking for is a quantum leap, I want to challenge you. To embrace the concept of upgrading your operating system. Okay. Now, there are many ways you can do that. Now, the way I offer that you can do that is the EntreMD Business School Grow, right? And again, I leverage the same concept that I used to choose how I was going to upgrade my business, right? I was like, okay, I am looking for somebody who's done it, somebody who's helped other people do it, right? And that's where I want to be. And if you're looking for a place like that, the EntreMD Business School is the place for you. So as far as if I've done it, I've done that in my private practice and, built that wildly successful, brought in millions and millions of dollars of revenue. And I've also been on sabbatical from it for the last 17 months and it's growing, right? So the proof of concept is there. Okay. And in EntreMD, we've done the same thing, right? And so is the depth of experience there and the depth and the wealth of knowledge? Yes. Have we done it for other people? Yes. And you've heard many of their interviews on the podcast, whether they're private practice coaches, speakers, they host events, all kinds of things. They're entrepreneurs. So they're working their jobs, but they're owning their brands and like using that to negotiate for the kind of work life they want, how much they want to earn, time off they want, and all of those kind of things. So we have all of those. In fact, in our last survey, I think we had 36.2% of the doctors at EntreMD Business School are full-time employees. Go figure, okay? And so they're there. And so if you're looking for a container where you can upgrade your operating system, right? So you can create quantum leaps in your business, then I want to invite you to come join us in the EntreMD Business School. It's entremd.com/business to apply. But it is the place for physician entrepreneurs who want to build 6, 7, and multiple 7-figure businesses, right? And we would love for you to join us. It is a fantastic place. We have people who have been there for 3 years. There are people who are like, they created the hashtag themselves, EBS for life. It is a phenomenal space. One doctor described it as a place where physician dreams come true. Okay. So of course, we would love to have you on entremd.com/business to turn in your application, and we'll see you there. Okay. But I want you to walk away from this, in addition to that, take 10 minutes. Okay, today. And I want you to define the focus, your focus for your business. I want you to define what you have to do to get you there. And I want you to decide to upgrade your operating system. Okay, this is how you create quantum leaps. And it gives you massive wins in less time. This is not about burning yourself out to create a win. What is the point of that, right? This is about you learning how to build your dream life and build your dream business at the same time. Okay. All right. So I want you to think about it. You can have both. You can have the dream life, you can have the dream business, and it's just going to be wonderful. Okay. So thank you for listening to this. Make sure you do your homework. Please share this episode with another doctor in your life. And I will see you on the next episode of the EntreMD Podcast. Hey, if you love listening to the EntreMD Podcast, I want to invite you to join EntreMD On Demand. It is my signature subscription program that gives you access to a library of business courses designed to help you do one thing as a physician entrepreneur, and that is to thrive. Just head out to entremd.com/on-demand, and I'd love to have you join us. See you on the inside.